Welcome to video 5 of my experiment, I guess you could say, with continuous glucose monitoring. I'm using the app with NutriSense and the monitor with NutriSense. So essentially, I am going to get a snapshot of where my blood sugars are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So again, just to summarize, the reason why I decided to do this is to really look deeper into my metabolic health. For the most part, I am healthy. Was I always healthy? No. Did I do things that I know now were contributing to a lot of damage in my body? Absolutely. So I thought it would be really important for me to experiment this because as owner of a business, this is something that I'm really going to push out to some of our patients because I think it can be really eye-opening for someone's foundational health. So let me just start by, again, helping people understand why managing and knowing your blood sugars is so important. And this image kind of can, tell a story in itself, but too much sugar in the blood is a problem. And it's happening more and more and more. And it's really, it's become really an epidemic. And it all really comes down to the amount of sugar in our diets. So just so you can kind of wrap your head around, what this all means when our blood sugars are elevated or stay elevated, it really is just that. I mean, you can see the image to the left is normal blood glucose. So blood flow is like water, it's kind of freely going through very efficiently. And to the right, you see a lot of sugar in the blood, and now the blood becomes more syrupy. So as you can imagine, syrup does not travel nicely like water does. And that's essentially what really happens in the body. And a good analogy, or not even an analogy, but for another way to think about it is people who have diabetes, one of the first things to really become damaged is their toes and their fingers. It's because the syrupy blood can no longer get to those small micro vessels and they become clogged, and now blood flow cannot get there. So it is so important on that level, of course, but for metabolic health, this is disease starting, very early on. So again, when you have too much sugar that stays in the blood, the sugar will begin to break down tissue and start the inflammatory process. This inflammatory process can happen anywhere in the body. And whatever your body is vulnerable to get based on, say, genetics or other lifestyle behaviors, that is really where it's starting. And all diseases essentially start with inflammation. So it's not just diabetes. I mean, it can be kidney disease, cardiovascular disease, Alzheimer's. It really can be any disease. And by not managing your sugars or just living your whole life with fluctuations and you don't even know it, you're contributing to that progression. So for me in this week, so I am in my 4th week on the continuous glucose monitor, and I am so far staying pretty good during the day in a range of between 90 and 120. So this week I did have a pretty extreme spike after a meal. And I later found out that it was carrots, believe it or not. So for whatever reason, I mean, obviously I know carrots have sugar, but I did not expect such the drastic spike in my blood sugars. And when that happened, and I immediately checked it because, even though it's being monitored, you have to actually scan, your phone and scan it to get an immediate number. Because I just felt it. I was immediately tired. I could not even concentrate. And it was literally because I went from like 85 to 160 in like a matter of minutes. And so I literally wanted to go take a nap. And so this is how much our body, is affected by these fluctuations. So I know that was not good. So obviously I'm going to make changes and kind of dig deeper into that, because carrots are like such a staple in my diet. And so now I'm going to obviously make other choices and see how I respond to that. So that was eye-opening for me this week. Just goes to show that it's just not, like your, ice cream and soda and things like that, even though those are, I don't even want to know what would happen if I ate that. So the other piece that I just wanted to reiterate that was a very interesting finding for me is sugar alcohols. So I do not ever consume any artificial sweeteners like Splenda, NutraSweet, Sweet and Low, things like that. Those nobody should be consuming. And so I do consume stevia, and I was getting sugar alcohols like in certain products because it is a sweetener that is considered relatively on the healthier side, but it can cause like a ton of digestive issues for people. So I stay away from it, but it is in some of the food products. So what I noticed is that every time I had, like I was seeing the bulletproof collagen, it had a little bit of xylitol, and my blood sugars would spike significantly. So I removed that. Stevia does not touch my blood sugars that I'm seeing right now. I use a very pure extract, a liquid. I do not use stevia in the raw. There are so many different imitations out there that are very processed. So you have to be very careful when you're purchasing stevia. I am going to be experimenting next week with allulose. So this is a new one on the block. And so there's a lot of positive things that I'm hearing about. I'm hearing that it has zero effect on blood sugar. And I'm also hearing that it can minimize the glycemic load. So it actually help lower blood sugars. So we'll see where that all goes. So other than that, with the food, so those are the big pieces with the food. With exercise, I am definitely seeing fluctuations in my blood sugars based on the exercise I'm doing. So when I go running, usually it's a pretty it's a moderate pace. I don't, it's not like full exertion by any means. So I am seeing my blood sugars kind of decline as I'm, exercising and afterwards, which is normal. And when I do more of like the high intensity HIIT exercises, I do see spikes in my blood sugars. And this is very normal. So if you decide to kind of take this on and you're, noticing that exercise is causing an increase and you're like, what the heck's going on? Just know that that is very normal. And it can be actually a very good thing, especially if you're more in a fasted state when you are exercising, because that just means that your body is using its stores for the sugar versus, the food that you maybe consumed before you started to work out. So hopefully that was helpful. Again, just summarizing that, managing and knowing your blood sugars ultimately is foundationally so crucial for not only just, again, how you feel, but your overall metabolic health. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.